online and in person. There's a code of conduct. And today, our very first speaker is Fred. Fred, welcome, Fred. Give Fred a big applause. Fred is a tech evangelist. He has been about how many talks? I think I saw this about 180 talks, and he has gone to 23 countries. He was a keynote speaker. He has about 20 years of experience, and he is also a book author. So we would love, we want to. I'm so glad that I found Fred through an online search. Welcome, Fred. I would want you to take away the screen, and I'll stop sharing here. Oh, Linda's here. Hi, Linda. This is recorded. So
introduction. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, to share some of the stuff that I can share with. My name is Frederick Harper. I'm a developer advocate or technical evangelist or whatever you call that kind of role. So my job is to be the friendly, social, approachable, technical face of the company. Right now, I'm in between jobs, so it's why I'm just a technical evangelist. Like I have no employer right now looking for my next challenge, but really excited to be here when Deepa approached me, to talk at that meetup. I gave her a couple of topics that I could be able to talk about quite easily, and she said, like, you know what? I think it would be interesting to talk about how to become an open source contributor because there is also professional joining that meetup, but there's also students. There are people that are new in the tech industry, and there are even people that are been in the tech industry for a while, but do not know exactly where to start when it comes to open source. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes with you to talk about open source and help you hopefully get started with open source contribution. So during the talk, I'm still available on Twitter at fharper. Feel free to, share things I'm going to say, even if you agree or disagree with some of the stuff. Take screenshots, share them on Twitter. Ping me after also if you have any questions. We're going to have time for a Q&A, but if you don't want to ask them live or ask them in the chat, I'm going to be available after that on social media. So if I ask people, and some of, sorry, give me a second. Sorry about that. So some of you have the camera closed, so I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. But like, if I ask the people in the quote unquote room, how many of you contribute to open source? Some people will raise their hand, some people won't, and it's fine. But my goal is that at the end of that talk, if I ask you like how many people will contribute to open source, that we have more people raising their hands or virtually raising their hands about that. So that's kind of my goal today. Talk a little bit about open source, help you to get started, but hopefully try also to motivate you and get you excited about becoming a contributor to open source. So on that note, I would say we should all contribute to open source. And I know it's easy for me to say, I don't know your life. I don't know what you're doing day to day. I don't know how much time you have. You have family, you have work, you have school. There's plenty of things that can take your time. But I can probably say with being 100% correct that we all use open source in a way or another. Either as software developer, when you do npm install, usually it's open source software. When you use a library, it's open source. You use applications that are open, but also sometimes you even use open source without knowing it. Like there's a lot of application you're using that use open source library. Like one example, if you're on Facebook, you're using open source. Facebook is not open source, but you're using open source technology. So we all use open source. So from my point of view, I feel free to disagree, but from my point of view, we should all contribute because we all use open source in the end. So we should all contribute to open source. But that's my point of view. Again, feel free to disagree. Let me just quickly start about asking like what is open source. I'm not going to talk that much about it, but it's just like there's a pet peeve of mine when it comes to open source. I want to be sure we all understand what it is. And it's basically having access to the source. If I ask you what is open source, probably your answer would be, hey, I need to have access to the source, and this is open source. And actually, yes, you're right. Most of the time, we're also going to talk about the fact that, like, oh, it needs to be free, which is not exactly the case. There is that organization, the Open Source Initiative, that is basically having a definition about what is open source. So, what does that mean to be open source? And there is a lot of things. There's actually 10 points. I won't go through all of these, I won't bore you with that, but it's basically telling you that, yeah, the source need to be accessible, and there is a lot of things around licenses to prevent people for preventing you to do stuff. So at the end of the day, open source is often free, but when it's free, we call that free and open source software. So FOSS, FOSS. When we talk about pure open source, it doesn't have to be free. If you look point number one, free redistribution, it doesn't mean that it needs to be free in terms of like free as a beer. It needs to be free in terms of like the license shall not be restricted to any party from selling or giving away the software. So you would be able to sell open source software. It's just you need to give the source to the person or the company you're selling the software to. So that was just like a small pet peeve of mine. Wanted us to start all the same level about the knowledge about what it comes to when we talk about open source. But let's be realistic here. Most of the time, open source is free, and this is one of the things we liked also about it. So it's also why I encourage people to, become contributor and really start to help the open source community. Everything I'm going to tell you tonight is good also for open data. So if you want to start to, um, help with open data that is available online, open science too is a thing. So I don't know if there's scientists here listening to us tonight, but there is that thing called open science, which is important, and I think even more important in today's world to give access to all the knowledge that people have. There's also open education. For some country, it's kind of like a given, like, see, but many places you have to pay, and it's not open to everyone. So those open culture ecosystem, they're really important. And there's something that is not open per se, but Creative Commons is a license usually used for pictures or images that really give you access to those, usually for free, with some or not restriction depending on the type of Creative Commons license that are used. But I just wanted to highlight that yes, there is open source in terms of like code. There was other open initiative that you can also help, that you can also contribute in different ways. And most of the things I'm going to talk to you tonight apply for all those other type of open distribution. So first, let me try to tell you why you should contribute to open source, and hopefully you're going to be able to find one or two things that resonate with you. The first one is not about shredding money, just like images. When I do those kind of talks, those non-technical talks that still apply for a technical audience, but basically it's about giving back. And it's about the first point that I made at the beginning of my talk. It's basically we are all using open source, so we should at some point give back in a way or in another. And I'm going to tell you how to get started. You don't have to do this full time, but just there is a way to give back to the open source community, to open source project without being overwhelmed, even without being like a super experienced software developer or engineer. The second reason is that it's open source. So you use that software, and quite often it's not exactly what you want. There is issues or bugs that like are important to you that may not be important for other people. There are features that are missing because it's open that give you the opportunity to basically build what you want with it. So if there's a feature missing, you have that opportunity, which you don't have with closed source software, meaning like you need to wait for the company, for the maintainer to add that feature if they ever had the feature you want, or even fix the bug, because at some point, you know how it is. If you're a software developer, you have a finite number of time. You cannot fix all the issues most of the time. So sometimes there's decisions that are taken and you're like, you know what, I cannot focus on fixing that bug because it's not important. I have other things to do. But with open source, you are the one deciding what you're going to work on. That could make sense for you, and that could help you being successful. The other thing is you can do something you love, meaning that if you're lucky, you have a job right now and you liked it and you like what you do day to day, you like the product you're working on as a software developer, but the reality may not be that. You may not be lucky and you may work on developing a software at work that you're not quite excited about. But you know what? We live in a world where we need money for a living. So you need that job. You need to keep that job, especially right now. Trust me, I've been looking for a job right now. And it's the first time in more than 20 years that I find it a little more difficult than it used to be. So if you have a job right now, even if you're not fully excited about it, little advice on the side, please keep it. But with open source, it really gives you the opportunity to work on projects that you're passionate about. And I think that's important if you want to, continue to code and if you want to continue to get excited about being a software developer. Again, if work is not maybe as interesting as it should be, there's an opportunity and it may not comes naturally for some of you, some of us. You may not be super social, you may be more an introvert, less an extrovert, and it's fine, it's perfect. But within the open source, when you become a contributor, you become part of a community, and meaning that like you will meet new people, you will connect with new people. Like I connected with Deepa about that user group, about the fact that she was looking for a speaker, and I was able to speak at the user group. So it's the same thing with open source. You're going to connect with people online. Some people will stay acquaintances, but from my experience, I have people that I met on the internet before, part of different projects, different open source projects, and at some point we met in live and we became in real life friends. So it's a way to network, it's a way to grow your network, and it's not just about friend, it can be just about like people And again, when you look for a job, your network is critical or for you to be successful, fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you see that. But really, growing a network by participating to open source is one of the great way to do that. You're going to be also to able to find a mentor or mentee. If you have more experience and want to mentor someone, it's also a great place to find someone who's going to be able to help you in your career. So obviously it's like anything else, not everybody is going to be open to mentor you, but that's a great way to find someone that has the experience that you want to acquire, or someone that works in tech for longer than you and you want to have advices, someone that can help you also to get started and find your first professional work as an engineer or software developer. So finding mentor, finding mentee within the open source community when you participate to a specific project is pretty good. And the community part is really interesting, because once you become a maintainer of a project, you are part of that community. And for me, it is something, as I said, based on everything else I said before, growing your network, creating new connection, that community is important. And you build relationship with those people, you're really part of a community. I don't know if some of you are part of doing some things in the cloud native with Kubernetes, but you see it when you go in KubeCon. Like, you connect with people that have the same interests and the same technology as you, even if they're not even contributor, they can connect with people. But on top of that, when you contribute to a specific project, you create bonds with people that you may or may not meet in person, but still there is that community, that strong community of open source contributor, that I feel is quite a great advantage. On top of that, you can improve your skills, meaning that, again, either skills that you already have, technology that you already know when you want to get a little bit deeper, but it's also a great opportunity to learn new technology. Let's say you're, I don't know, a PHP developer and you want to learn Go or you want to learn Rust. Yes, you can create your own project. But also what you can do is find an open source project that you can get excited about, that use the technology you want to learn. And now you have like a code base that you can just start to learn about it. And once you start to contribute, you really need to understand how it's working. And that's going to help you to improve your skills. On top of that, new experience. It gives you new experience. It can help you to also unleash your creativity, because again, Maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I know not all jobs are perfect. And sometimes when you're a software developer, you create exciting, really interesting stuff, things that you're proud of. Sometimes you just need to create the feature that the PM asked you to create, or the CTO or the CEO or a potential customers want. So you need to create stuff that you may not totally believe it, or things that you need to implement in the software because it's part of like every software, every services, like I don't know, you need to users management, and it may not be the most exciting things to do, but at the same time you need to do it. But with an open source project, you choose what you're going to work on, so it means that you really can unleash your creativity. And with all the work that you're doing, those are the things that you can put on your resume, especially if you're new in tech, if you're junior, if you're starting to, like, if you're not even starting in tech but you're looking to start in tech. I do a lot of free coffee chat with people that did like boot camps or went to college, or no matter what, like they studied to become software developer, and now they were like, Fred, give me tips or tricks about finding new jobs. And one of the first thing I say is try to build publicly, because everything you're going to do publicly, everything you're going to put on your GitHub account, even if those are just like tutorials or homeworks, even if they're not the most amazing application out there, it helps you to prove to potential employers that you can do this job, even if you didn't do it professionally. So it's good also for people that have more experience. Like having open source on your resume, it's always a nice addition. It always showed as like, hey, you have some passion about what you do. And I think it's quite important in that field. And by doing that, you can also become an expert. You have recognition also from the industry as an open source contributor. There are even some companies that have those programs like Google Expert and Microsoft MVP. It's not specific to open source, but usually it's kind of like part a little bit of that, like Cloud Native, the how do we call that? The ambassador. Most of them, actually, I think all of them need to have contribute in a way or another to one of the CNCF project, the open source project. And all that, it helps you to build your personal branding, meaning that, like, I don't know if you heard about personal branding, but that's also one way to succeed. It's how people see you, how people perceive you. It helps you to get the next job that you want. It helps you to get a pay raise. It helps you to change to different jobs that you would look like. So those are kind of like a lot of like quote unquote selfish reason to participate to open source, but they're not really selfish. They're just like good added bonus and like just doing the right things. And when you build open source software, when you help, when you contribute, you are helping other people. I have a script I use every time I have a new laptop. For when I change job and it gave me a new laptop, I have that script that install like everything that I use. And I use so many open source software, and some of them I could not live without them. Like they're part of my day to day, yes, professionally, but also personally. I use them to do my own stuff at home. So those people help me. So as an open source contributor, you help other people. And I'm pretty sure you would not have thinking that you would have seen sumo asses in that presentation tonight about open source. But I was just looking for an image that would tell me like something that is bigger than you. And I'm not saying that to laugh about sumo. It's just like when you contribute to open source, you are part of something that is bigger than you. So enough talking about, trying to get you excited about that. Let's talk about how you can contribute to open source. Let's go right in the middle of the topic, the heart of the topic. So when we think about contributing to open source, we always think about code, like contributing code. And part of why I gave that talk, it's also to let people know that, at least from my point of view and the point of view of a lot of people, it's not just about the code. There's a lot of other ways to be a contributor without even writing a single line of code. So I'm going to get back to the code right after, but let me introduce you to many more ways that makes you, from my point of view, and again, from point of view of many people, an open source contributor. The first one is reporting bugs. You use a open source software, a library, a framework, there is an issue, go on GitHub, go on GitLab, go wherever they have the resource and create an issue, or plus thumbs up on an issue that was already created or had some value to an issue if you know how to recreate it, if you have additional information. It helps other people that will contribute codes to understand that there is an issue, to understand that there is a bug. You know how it is. Even when you code something, even if you when you test something, you cannot find all the issues and you may not run in all the issues. So having external users that report those issues, it's extremely useful. And yes, it's not like pushing code to the software, but I think there is a lot of values in doing that. A second way is helping with the documentation. Part of my job as a developer advocate is also to help having proper documentation so people can use my product. And you know what? What I always say about documentation, you can have the best product out there. If your documentation is shit, sorry about the word, you're not going to be successful. It's not going to work. So you can have the best open source project out there. If people don't know how to use it, that's not going to work. So either some project have their own documentation website. Sometimes, most of the time, it's docs as code, meaning that there's a GitHub repository that is for documentation, or sometimes it is within the main repository of the project. Sometimes they don't have like explicit or really complicated documentation because it's not complicated to use, but there's always like steps to how to get started in the README of the repository. So help with the documentation, fix typo, had things that are missing, fix sentences that are not clear, because if they're not clear to you, there's a chance that they won't be clear for other people. So helping with documentation is one way to go. The other one is, an open source software to be successful, you need great documentation, but people need to know about those. So one way to do that is write some blog article to promote those open source software. And for me, you are a contributor when you do that. You have a blog, you're on social media, write good things about or if they earn that, if they're really good software, write good things about those to help promote those open source software. That's one way to go. But you can also create video tutorial if you're a little more creative. You can do like live stream, you can participate to live stream and talk about the nice, cool open source project that you like to use. And if you want to go even the extra mile, or go out of your comfort zone, you can speak at events. Like I used to run a couple of meetups, and it's not always easy to find speakers because you do that every month. Sometimes you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 speakers per evening. You do that every month. There's a lot of public speaker out there, but like finding those speakers that will talk to your event is not always easy. So having people that will give talks about, again, nice open source software that you're using, nice library, nice framework that are open, it's one way to become a contributor. And that will help that will help those products to get more awareness, and that will help people to find interesting like product that can help them being successful. And usually like meetups, conferences, they don't like product pitches. So if you're part of a company going there to talk about your own product, they're not super excited about that. So it's always nice way to be on the stage to talk about like an inspiring open source project that you believe in. Another way to help and contribute to open source is to help other people, kind of like doing some technical support. You see someone who creating issues, there's two type of issues. There is real issues, which is like a bug, like people can replicate it, it's a problem. And there is what I call, or what many people call, code 18, where the issue is at 18 inches from the screen, from the monitor, meaning that like the problem is not the software, the problem is the user, because they didn't do something right. And no matter the reason, they need some help. So if the community is on Slack, is on Discord, if there's issues that are not real bugs, but more like, hey, a user is having a problem and they need help and you have the expertise, helping them is another way to contribute. Honestly, that brings me to code. You can publish your own stuff, your own code on GitHub, on
Did we lose him? Hey, Fred. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Deepa.
I don't know
Yes,
if
we
I
can hear.
think
Somebody had
Fred.
cut off at least. Not good.
Yeah, we can't hear Fred. Okay, let's see. I think we lost him. Let's see. It was very interesting. Yeah, I think he is going to rejoin. He
Yeah,
has.
there was an internet problem at least.
Yeah, he did say that he had an issue earlier, but not today. But let's hope. And has anybody contributed to open source? I know Randall has. I think Fred is back. Fred, can you hear us? Eh,
Script where I can do a lot of things.
Sorry, we lost you for quite a bit. We lost you for a minute.
Hello?
Hello, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, can you, because we lost you for a minute.
Oh,
We were talking about how do you help other people and how do you contribute to code. That's the last part that I
that
heard.
slide right
Yeah.
now? Okay, sorry about that. Not sure what happened. I didn't lost anyone. So yeah, what I was saying is that obviously after all those non-code way of contributing, obviously you can contribute your own code, and meaning that like you can put your project on GitHub, on GitLab, or whatever makes sense for you, and they do not need to be like extra special or like those big ass application or project. I mean, if you look on my GitHub account, you're gonna see like a couple of bash scripts that I created. Like one is like utils that I put a lot of like terminal commands that I never remember how to do, or sometimes they're just too complex to remember. And I build that utils, and I'm pretty sure it's not super useful for most people, but it can be helpful for other people. So some people will use it, some people will just look at the code, and that's going to inspire them to do something that they want to do. And you never know what are the things that are going to be successful. At some point, as I told you, it's not even code, it's not even technical, but I'm doing offering those free coffee chat, and I realized I was not the only one. So I did that like open repository. I put a repository on GitHub, and I say, hey, that's going to be a directories of like people offering free coffee chats. And now I think I have something like 50 people offering those free coffee chats.
Yeah, just to stop you there. That's how I found you.
Okay. Yeah, so you know what, like you never know, and it's not even code, so it was just a way to like put something where people can participate. And I have, as I told you before, like I have that script that I use to install, like to basically configure my new laptop, which install a bunch of stuff and configure a bunch of stuff. And there's a couple of people that like it, and it's not super popular, but at least that helped those people. And I know it can be frightening to put your code out there because people would kind of like judge your code, but I would tell you, obviously, there are some trolls, there are some people that are mean, but most people are nice people, and they're going to be there to help you being successful. So the next step is, yes, you can contribute, you can do your own stuff. But what most people are looking for when you want to start to contribute to open source is not really build your own things. You may not have like that spectacular idea you want to work on, but if you do, please do go ahead and make those code, make that code public. But what's most people want to do is contribute to their project. So here's my kind of like tips about contributing to new project. And I see there's some Q&A right now.
Yes.
So I will answer those right after, just to be sure that I go through all the information, because I may already answer your question. So the first thing, if you want to start to contribute, there is that thing that you may know about, you may not know about, called good first issue. Not everybody is using that, but especially bigger project, they will have label that are called good first issue, and they're usually easier feature to create, or bugs that are not that complicated. If I want to be honest, most of the time it's because those feature or bugs also are not maybe a priority, because contributors, full-time contributors, maintainer, sometimes there's also a company behind an open source project. It may not be a priority for them, but it means that like they found an issue and maybe they won't fix it right now, or a user asked a feature that did not fit in like the planning of the company behind the open source project, but they're still hoping to have someone to contribute to it. So usually the person or the people managing the repository will have labeled a good first issue label. And if you find those, it's the perfect issues to start with, because it will require you to understand a little bit about the application, about the architecture, about the programming language that they're using, but it will be a best a best way to start, because the learning curve is going to be not as hard as like a really complicated feature or a bug that is like really mind blowing. So look at those. Like if you go on a repository and there's a project that you feel you would be interested to participate, look for the good first issue label. If you really don't know, if you're not sure where to start, continue with that good first issue label. But there are some websites out there that will help you to find those. I'm going to have a resource page at the end with all the links that I'm going to talk about. But there is the goodfirstissue.dev. Guess what? It's also an open source. It's an open website, meaning that like the source of the web site is on GitHub, so you can add projects there. I've seen you can see on the screen there's a little bit of like outdated project, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that the last activity on the main branch was maybe a couple of months ago that the project is dead. Sometimes there's like parallel development on other branches, so it just for you to see if those make sense. So goodfirstissue.dev is a good place to start. And there's also goodfirstissues.com, with another website that is also on GitHub, so people can do PR to add good first issues on goodfirstissue.com. Do you follow me? But this one is a little bit different. The other one was showcasing like repository projects you can work on. This one is basically listing the issues that you can work on. And I love that there is a filter where you can filter by different programming language and like filter by different other stuff and sort by. So it's also a great place to start if you don't know where to start. The third place I would suggest you to check also is it's for good first issue. So it's for goodfirstissue.github.com. And this is another place where they're going to list another like good first issues project that you can work on. This one is really focused on, things about that do goods, like project that helps you to do good in the world, like fighting climate change, solving world hunger. So if you want to participate to open source project, but not just strictly on the technical side, but also trying to bring something good for the rest of the world, it's why I always talk about this one. I like that. It's also a great project. Lastly, when it comes to, or before last, actually, when it comes to good first issue, you may or may not have heard about Hacktoberfest. It's during the Oktoberfest timeframe. It's a program that was started by DigitalOcean 11 or 12 years ago, and every year they do that kind of like quote unquote event / competition where if you are a first contributor to open source, you go there, they list on the website a couple of projects that participate to the Oktoberfest that put good first issue but also Oktoberfest label on different issues. And usually like when you record them on their website, they're going to send you like free t-shirts or free stickers, and it's just like on top of like doing good and helping and continuing to work on your skills, you also receive some swag that is just usually pretty nice swag. Like I need to say, I used to work at DigitalOcean. They have a pretty good designers team, except for if I can see this year, I feel the website was not as exciting as before, but usually they have really nice swag that you can receive when you participate to that. And the last place that I would suggest you to check, and I say the last place from my suggestion, but it's the web. There's an infinite number of places where you can check to find like good first issue. It's Code Triage. It's codetriage.com. And what I like about this is like, yes, you can find project where there is issue, you can participate, but you can subscribe to the website. And I think every day, they're gonna send to your email, to your inbox, different issue based on the selection of the project you want to focus on. So a random issue you're going to receive in your inbox, and that can help you to decide like, hey, you know what, that issue to send me today, it's something that resonates with me, or something that you think you have like the knowledge to do, something that you can get excited about and you can try to work on it. So it doesn't mean you have to fix issues every day, but it's a good way to find new issues without having to search for yourself. It's just come up in your inbox every day. when you want to contribute to your open source project, first things you need to do is to look for contributing.md. So all respectful project, should I say that they have a contributing.md. Usually this is where how they list like how should one contribute, what are the things you need to know to get started as a developer, because there is sometimes a difference about running the software and also like using the software, has someone who's going to contribute to the software. And this one was for the documentation in the previous company, so it was mostly about how to contribute to the documentation. But as you can see in the getting started list, I wrote a lot of things about like how your commit message should looks like. If you had images, like those are the parameter that you need to keep in mind. Some little preference when it comes to markdown. And really, the more information you have in contributing to MD, the better chances that's going to give the people that want to contribute to your project. So I always suggest this is the first thing you should add after a license to your open source, after a proper README and license to your open source project. But has someone who wants to contribute to open source project, look at that file first. Even before asking questions, even before thinking about contributing, that will hopefully make it clearer for you about what you can, what you can do, what you cannot do, and how to do it. I would also highly suggest that even before you start contributing, ask. Ask the contributor, ask the actual contributor, ask the maintainer, ask the company behind the project, if there's a company behind the project, has the nonprofit behind the project. You know what? I want to work on that issue. I want to work on that feature. It doesn't make sense, yes or no. And this is how I plan to do it, because mostly sometimes for more popular project, they're going to have a vision about what should come next. They're going to have a vision about how to do the architecture. If it's a company behind it, like it may not be a priority, and they may have like vision and like things that should or should not be done. So it's less about telling you not what to do, it's more about saving you sometimes. And I learned that the hard way too. There's a 2-3 project where like I spent a lot of times to add a new feature to fix issues when the maintainer, like the maintainer, the person who created that project, if they didn't have a lot of contributor, I did a PR and it just went into the void because that project was kind of dead, or the contributor didn't see value in what I brought to that software. So obviously at that point, I have the opportunity to fork the project and do my own good. But sometimes I just wanted to add a feature to something that I use. I didn't want to become a full maintainer of that project. So ask first. I think it's one of the, if you have to remember one thing, ask first is probably one of the best advice, because that's going to save you time. There is nothing more depressing that you spend hours fixing stuff, fixing bugs, adding feature for your PR to be dismissed, for PR to be closed, for people not really accepting the work you've done it. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's open source, but it's their software, is their baby. So ask to be sure you're going in the right direction. And also ask for help. There's a lot of people that in the past projects that I own, people wanted to contribute and they say, oh, I'm going to work on that feature. And we talked a little bit and they were like, okay, we're good to go. And I didn't hear from them for a month or two. And sometimes it's just like, life happened or focus change or we're not excited about anymore. But quite often I was getting back to them. I was like, hey, how is it going? Do you need help? And most of the time the answer was yes. I was like, what did you ask? It's fine. Ask for help. I'm not going to laugh. I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. So ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you when you start to contribute to your project. If you don't understand something, obviously first look in the docs, look in the issues, or if like the GitHub discussions are open, check there if someone had the same issue and if there's an answer for you. But after that, talk to people if it's possible. But start small. Always try to start small. Like I see so many people that want to contribute to the first time to your project. And no matter your expertise, no matter how many years you've been in tech, when you work on a new project, it takes time. You need to understand the technology that have been used. You need to understand the architecture. You need to understand where it's going from that point. You need to understand if it's going to make sense or not. If there's a community, you need to kind of like understand the culture around it. There is a lot of things to learn about a new project, even before being able to contribute. So what I suggest you is always start small. Don't try to go with the big issue right away. Don't try to go with the big feature right away because you don't know the project yet. You're not a contributor yet. So really take your time. There is no issue about, there's no like it's not a problem to fix something small. Actually, that's nice. Most of the time, the small bugs, people don't spend time on them because they're not a priority, because maybe it's not something that is as exciting to do, but still that's going to help you to put your feet inside and start to be a contributor for that specific project. And one of the easiest way to do, I always suggest, start with a bug instead of a feature, because a bug would help you to understand how to debug that specific application, that specific framework or libraries. That's going to help you to understand like how the code is working, that you're going to need to understand things to be able to first replicate that issue and understand how that issue is happening. So instead of starting with a feature, even if you really want to add something, start with a bug. I think it's the easiest way to go when you start to contribute to open source. So all in all, try to be a good open source citizen, give back to the community, and you do not need to do that full time. I talk about open source right now. I try to encourage you to be an open source contributor, and I'm not an open source contributor, like a main open source contributor on the main project. My style is I fix issue here and there. I create issues here and there when I see problem. I promote great open source project that I want. All the things that I talk to you, I do a little bit of those here and there when I have time, because for a while now, I decided that my computer is for work, and most of the time on my personal time, I'm not on a computer fixing things or building or creating stuff as a software developer. So if you have time, if you want to, if you're excited, go for it. But like just doing those little things once in a while, it makes you a valuable contributor. Because if we were to ask everybody that don't spend at least 20 hours per week to contribute to open source wouldn't be a thing. Yes, obviously there is like those contributors that are paid to contribute to open source, part of their job. There are people that do this on their evening, on their free time, on the weekend. But most open source contributors, they're small or open source contributor, people that do those little things here and there. But you combine all those little things together, you have like a tremendous impact on the open source community. So if you came tonight to listen to that talk, or maybe it was not my talk, maybe it was for the second speaker, but if you came tonight and you wanted to learn more about how to get started to contribute to open source, this was the sign you were looking for. This is the moment where you're like, okay, after that talk, I need to start to do open source. And I want you to start to contribute to open source if you were not a contributor right away. Because, as I said at the beginning, it's not about shaming people, but we all use open source. So from my point of view, we should all contribute in different ways within our own capacity. So find a project that you want to contribute and go all in with that project. So quickly, the resources that I talked to you about was the open source initiative, the nonprofit behind the open source definition, doing a lot of other great stuff. Good first issue, good first issues, for good first issue, Cartriage, and Oktoberfest. So we still have a couple of months before Oktoberfest. So if you become a contributor, think about participating to Oktoberfest. You can all see the information on the website. We're going to launch the 12th edition probably this year. I'm pretty sure it's not going to end this year. They will continue to do that because that's a great program. So on that note, my name is Fred. I'm going to have maybe a little bit of time to take questions if you have any. If not, if you don't want to ask me a question right now, there's my email, hi@fred.dev. Obviously, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you find me on LinkedIn, I'm going to be more than happy to connect with you. And lastly, I offer free coffee chat. You can go on fred.dev/coffee. What does that mean is like a 30-minute call with me, and you can talk about everything and anything. You don't even have to talk about technology, but you can talk about open source. If you want to start in tech, I can maybe try to give you advice. It's been a while that I've been in tech, so I didn't have to start in tech for many years, but I have to find jobs once in a while, unfortunately. I need to find new jobs, but we can talk about cats, we can talk about coffee, whatever you like. It's basically your time, and I love doing that. It's also a way to give back to the community, because I wouldn't be where I am without the help of many other people, and this is one way to give back to the community. So on that note, I am done talking, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Fred. And that was so informative. I did put most of the links, but I've taken a screenshot. This is recorded. However, it'll take time for me to put it on YouTube. So please, whoever, somebody asked me whether it'll be recorded. Yes, it is recorded, but give me some time to upload it to YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. Check for GDG San Jose, and I will also try to I will put it on a LinkedIn page as well. So we do have a couple of questions. One is I think who is this? Marshall asked this question first. I am trying to train an RNN to learn sentimental analysis. Can you give me a URL to an open labeled data set? Good for training ML models for sentiment analysis. Anybody has any idea?
I do not have the answer to that. That's a good question.
That maybe probably you can check in one of those open source, or if there's anything like that. But I can try to definitely check on this particular question and get back to you. If and the other question is, will there be a Hacktoberfest hosted in 2025?
I do not work for DigitalOcean anymore, so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that the answer is yes, because they've been doing that every year for 11 years now, and it's always massively successful. So I let me be super blunt. I think that would be stupid for DigitalOcean to stop that doing Oktoberfest. So I'm pretty confident by saying that. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have like another edition this year. And what is great is that, like, mostly any project, if you have an open source project, you can join Oktoberfest, being one of the project that is listed in like the first good issue, the Oktoberfest issues, that people can participate, and has potential future contributor. You can contribute, and as I said, there is like form, and you need to submit what you contribute, and like you may, depending on the year, you may get stickers, t-shirt, like they change it years by years. But I would say don't do that for what you can get out of it in terms of like material. Obviously that's always fun, but do it because that's a way for you to contribute, and that's a great platform to find like good first issues that you can work on.
Thank you so much. I did put something. I googled it, Marshall. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but try to check this open data sets. I hope this helps. I just quickly did whatever question that you posted me. I posted it on Google search, and it gave me this first link. I hope something works out of this. So with that said, thank you so much, Fred, for coming and speaking at GDG San Jose. I'm so glad to have you, and this will be recorded and posted in the YouTube channel. And do you want to post where do you do your coffee chats? The link on the chat.
Yeah.
Fred?
I'll post that. Post that, and I don't know if this is going to be useful also, but I always have question like if people can get my slides, even if there's like just images, random images. But this is the coffee chat. You go on fred.dev/coffee. That's going to bring you to my Calendly. And if you go on fred.dev/speaking, I'm going to share in the chat also. There is the slides for tonight are already there. So you just need to find the GDG talk San Jose. The slides are there, and also put the link of the recording when it's going to be there. And there is plenty of other talks recorded too, so if there's a topic that makes sense for you, please watch your recording.
Sounds good. And do you want to also put your podcast?
Oh yeah, I can do that also. So it's basically just on my I was lazy, I didn't create like a new channel for that, but it's a live stream that I usually do every 2 weeks. I didn't do for the last month because I was supposed to travel for conferences, and I lost my job, so I was looking for a job, so I just focused on that. But usually I do that every 2 months. It's the DevRel show with me, and it's basically about developer relation. And I have a new guest every 2 weeks that have little or a lot of experience in developer relation, and the show is in two part. First part, I'm just talking about the guest, about their experience, their professional experience, what they think about developer relation, and there's always a demo part, like a technical demo for software developer or technical people, and it goes in all direction depending on the guest. So if you want to learn more a little bit about those people, connect with those people, learn more about developer relation, but on top of that, learn about a new technology, a new framework, a new service, join the show. I should come back to the show. I took April off, but I should come back to the show in May, and it's going well. I have guests booked until 2026.